going to see solving another kind of trigonometric equation, but this time we're going to be dealing with the questions that are without using a calculator. Solve for this. If this is this, we're going to see examples. But before we go far, there's something we have to know, that you have to know what is an acute angle. Acute angle. Sorry for this. Acute angle. Then we have obtuse angle and a reflex angle. So an acute angle is an angle between 0 and 90. I think no, not equal. It's 0 and 90, but it's not 90. 90 is not. Then now we have obtuse. Obtuse is going to be between 90 and 180. Reflex is going to be between 180 and 360. So these are the different angles now represented here. So this is 0, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, 360 degrees. So we have this, and so this is acute because this is between 0 and 90, and this is obtuse, and this is reflex. This is also reflex. But remember, we said we have all students take chemistry or take coffee. A being in this quadrant, all sine, cos, theta are positive. In this quadrant, only sine is positive, meaning cot and tan are negative. In this quadrant, only tan is positive, cos and sine are negative. In this quadrant, only cos is positive, tan and sine are negative. So, and I explained why, because we said when you have this is representing like an imaginary, you have an imaginary x-axis, here you have an imaginary y-axis. So, meaning the values here are positive, here are negative, negative, but you said this hypotenuse will always be positive. Now we're going to look at a few numbers and we're going to see the application of what I'm saying. So, however, we are going to look at more examples on this same concept after we've learned after we've introduced the compound angle formula. Why? Because many of the questions from this concept will require you to have more of those trigonometric identities which you've not yet covered. But I want to introduce the concept nevertheless. So you have, without using tables or calculator, find sine theta plus tan theta if cos theta is this. So what do we have? We have cos theta is equals to 4 out of 5. But from SOHCAHTOA, cos is equals to adjacent out of hypotenuse. So before you even go further, you can draw here a small triangle. This triangle is not it's just to help us understand to find the side we don't have. So this is 4 is adjacent, 5 is the hypotenuse, so we say this is A, B, C. Then we have A squared plus B squared is equals to C squared. So we have 4 squared plus B squared is equals to 5 squared. So this is 16 plus B squared is equals to 25. So B, eventually you're going to get B as C. So B is 3. So this side is 3. Now, as I said, this is just to help us find the side that this side is 3, but with time, we're just going to go straight to drawing the quadrant. So now we draw the quadrant. The quadrant. So we have 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360 there. So degrees. Now here we have this is A for all, but we also say that this is where acute angles are. This is where obtuse, but we say this is all student take chemistry. So here obtuse, here is reflex, and here is also reflex. But now our triangle, since theta is acute, our triangle is going to be here. So we have this side being 4, side being 3, it's being 5, and this is theta. So what do we need? We need to find the value of sine. So sine theta. Sine is opposite out of, like, so opposite out of hypotenuse, so it's 3 out of 5. And tan theta is opposite out of adjacent, that's 3 out of 4. The question wanted us to find sine theta plus tan theta. So this is equals to 3 out of 5 plus 3 out of 4. And this is 27 out of 20. So that's the answer. The question I said without using calculator. So you can clearly see from what we've calculated, none of those things necessarily may need a calculator, except those small calculations. But yeah, so now here we have if tan is this and theta is obtuse. Now I'm going to now just go straight to drawing the quadrant, because I told you this was just for the first example, but for the other numbers we can work it out from the quadrant. So we have this. The most important thing and the first thing to look for in all these questions that are going to be of this format, the first thing you have to look for is you look for the is it obtuse, is it reflex, because that's going to help you find the quadrant needed for that question. Now here we have check this if theta is obtuse. So say this is acute, this is obtuse, and this is reflex. This is also reflex. So we want obtuse, so this is the quadrant we want to use. So we've drawn our rectangle in that quadrant, and here we have theta. By the formula, tan theta is equals to negative 5 out of 12, and SOHCAHTOA, this is opposite out of adjacent. So what is the opposite? The opposite is negative 5, but because you know, as we say, that this cross this and this is representing an imaginary x on y-axis, so this is an imaginary x-axis, it's an imaginary y-axis. So you know that this side is positive, like this is positive. If we had this, would be positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, like that. So that's why I cannot put a negative here, because I know that the adjacent is 12, so I would put here 12. But because I know this is on the negative side, so it's 5, and this is negative 12. I don't know if it makes sense. This is negative 12 because it's on the negative side of, because if you imagine this was an x-axis, this would be negative 12, so it's a negative side, but this side is positive. So we want to find the adjacent. So this is A, this is B, and this is C. So I come here and say A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. So this is negative 12 squared. I don't know if it makes sense why I have chosen to make like the negative on 12. It's because of the code. And that's why I told you that the most important thing in this question is understanding, is my angle acute, is it obtuse, is it reflex? That's actually more important than any other thing in this kind of questions. So here we have 12 squared, negative 12 squared, sorry, plus 5 squared. This is 169 is equals to, so C will be the square root of 169. So what do we have here? We have C is 13. So we have 13. Now we can pick out our sine. Sine is going to be opposite out of hypotenuse. So opposite is 5, hypotenuse is 13. And then cos is going to be adjacent, which is negative 12 out of hypotenuse, which is 13. But the question wants sec divided by sine. And what is sec? Before we even go further, sec is the reciprocal of cos. So it's the same as saying negative 13 out of 12. So I hope you know that for this division sign, the negative, whether it's up or down, it's all the same. So that's why I've just left it here. But the question wants me to find sec out of sine. So here we have sec divided by sine. So sec is negative 13 out of 12 divided by sine, which is 5 out of 13. So we'll get the reciprocal. This is negative this times 13 out of 5. Right? Yeah. So if we have that, we're going to end up coming to negative 169 out of 60 being the answer to that question. So we found the value of sec theta out of sine theta without using a calculator. Now let's see the next. So here we have sine theta, sec theta, if cot is equals to this and its reflex. Now, the first thing we have to do in this question is to see what cot is equals to 20 out of 21. But you know, what we need is tan. Tan is the reciprocal of this 21 out of 20. And from SOHCAHTOA, this is the opposite out of adjacent. Then I draw our quadrants. We have this 0, 90, 180 to 70. Never forget to work with units. So here we have, this is acute, this is reflex. So this is acute, this is obtuse, this is reflex, this is reflex, because we explained what I mean by this. Okay, I've said theta is reflex. Now here, such a question, so the first thing we consider is it acute, is it reflex, is it obtuse? After that, now we can bring in all students take chemistry or take coffee. Now, why have I brought this up? It's because when you look at this, we have tan is equals to 21 out of 20, and we have said it's reflex. But now we ask ourselves, if since it's reflex, where do we put it? We put it in this quadrant or in this quadrant. Now, if you're based with a question asking that, the thing you're supposed to ask yourself is, I have to introduce all students take chemistry. Then now I look, is it positive or negative? Now, since tan is positive, we are in this quadrant. I don't know if you get, because for reflex falls in two quadrants, this and this. So to choose which quadrant, we now come and look at the sign. Is it positive or negative? It's positive, it's here, tan, because here tan is positive. It was not positive, it was negative. I would have chosen this quadrant. Okay, now let's draw a triangle here. I told you, draw the triangle in the quadrant. So draw the triangle here, it's 90 degrees, and I have here, this is theta. So this is opposite is 21, adjacent is this 20. And after that, you remember what I told you, that this is an imaginary x-axis, this is an imaginary y-axis. So this is not 20 because the negative side is negative 20. Even this, the opposite, it's in the negative side, so it's negative 21. And it should make sense that when whoever was getting that, say tan theta is equals to opposite, which was negative 21, out of adjacent, which was negative 20. That's how it gave them a positive answer. I don't know if it makes sense. Okay. Now we can find the other side. So this is A, this is B, this is C. So we say A squared plus B squared is equals to C squared. Negative 20 squared plus negative 21 squared is equals to C squared. So let's do this. 20 squared plus 21 squared. This is 841 is equals to C squared. What is C? C is going to be the square root of that. C is going to be the square root of that, which is 29. And I told you the hypotenuse is always positive in all the quadrants. So this is 29. So we now have that. Now we can, from that we can say, what is sine theta? Sine from SOHCAHTOA, it's so opposite out of hypotenuse. So it's negative 21 out of 29. Then I have cos. What is cos? Adjacent, which is negative 20 out of hypotenuse, which is 29. The question wants me to find sine sec. So I have to find sec. So if I have cos is equals to negative 20 out of 29, sec is going to be the reciprocal of that, which is 29 out of 20. I told you wherever the negative is, it's the same, but I just choose to put it. But even if you put it down, there is no change. So sine theta, sec theta is going to be, sine theta is negative 21 out of 29 times negative 29 out of 20. So this and this would cancel. So what do we get? Negative 21 out of 20 is sine theta. Sorry, positive, because negative times negative. It's positive 21 out of 20. So by that we found that's the answer to that question. Now, before we close this, I wanted to hint on a very small thing, because we're going to find more of these numbers. So let me give an example. You see, so we are going to say find sine theta plus cos theta if cot theta is equals to 4 out of 5 and is obtuse. So you see now we have this. Let me change the color such that we have different. So now we have this. Now the first thing we do, we say we are given cot theta is equals to 4 out of 5. So what is tan theta? Tan theta will be the reciprocal of that, which is 5 out of 4. So it's 5 out of 4. Now after us it's obtuse. Then we draw our quadrant. Now what I was saying last time, that the first thing you always look for after drawing the quadrant, before even checking for that thing of all students take coffee, first check this is acute, this is obtuse, this is reflex, this is reflex. Now the question has said obtuse, so we are sure we are in this quadrant, right? Now since obtuse has only one quadrant, this is the only. If it was reflex, you'd know we have two, but obtuse is only one. Then you label this. This 180, this is 270 and 360. So we have this, and this is theta. Now, then you write all students take coffee. Now, for this case, I want you to observe something. The question has told us that the angle is obtuse. And when you look at obtuse, it's S that's positive, meaning in obtuse, only sign is positive, tan is negative. So you would wonder, has the question made a mistake? What are you supposed to do for that case? Now, for that case, let's first try this is opposite out of adjacent. Okay, let me say it now. Even if the question told us that tan is positive, by the mere fact that this angle is obtuse, just know that tan was actually supposed to be negative. I don't know if it should make sense. The fact that it's obtuse, this was supposed to be tan. But even if you don't, but here it's supposed to be like this. But even if you don't necessarily write it like that, and let's say you're working with this, you're going to say it's equals to 5 is the opposite. So I put here 5. 4 is the adjacent, so this is 4. But still, because I told you this cross is an imaginary x and y axis, so you know that this 4 is going to be negative because it's on the negative side. I don't know if that makes sense. Then we can find the hypotenuse by saying a squared plus b squared is equals to c squared. I really hope this concept makes sense. Plus a squared is equals to c squared. So I have 16 plus 25. 16 plus 25 I get 41. So c is square root of 41. So this is root of 41. You see, how this is square root of 41. So from that, you can now derive your cos theta, which is cos adjacent out of hypotenuse. Sin theta will be opposite out of hypotenuse. So sin theta plus cos theta is negative 4 out of root of 41 plus 5 out of root of 41. So here we'll end up having 1 out of root of 41 is the answer. So that's what we have. Some people would want to rationalize it and multiply through by root of 41, but it's all the same. So this is what I wanted to note. You to note that even if the angle, as long as it has said it's obtuse, and even if, let's say, even if it was cos, and the cos given is positive, but they're saying it's obtuse, and yet you should know that the mere fact that it's obtuse, it's in this quadrant, but in this quadrant, cos is supposed to be a negative. So I don't know if that makes sense. We give priority to the angle, to the size of the angle. Is it obtuse? Is it acute? Then now we can look at other factors. Okay, so thank you. So I think we can now start our looking at different identities and